OHS teachers, I know that you have been waiting for information about BVL courses for semester 2, so I will give you my best attempt at clarifying some things for you. Our goal with this short video is to communicate what you need to know today before you begin building courses for BVL for semester 2. We will communicate these parameters to all of you, but please know that right now we are only requiring that core courses be built for semester 2. If teachers wanted to do this on a voluntary basis, they were to have contacted Hutch so that we can clearly communicate this with guidance. We have a steering committee that's been meeting. It is a small group of people. We know that if we get too many people involved, it is impossible to make decisions. And so I have included the names of the people on the steering committee at the bottom of this document. So if you have feedback or if you have questions, please reach out to one of the people on the steering committee so that they can bring those concerns and questions forward for our next meeting. Again, my goal for this short video is just to clarify your need to knows before you begin building. This will be a working document. So as we learn from our mistakes and we continue to grow, we will hopefully have building-wide scalability so that we can offer opportunities for BVL courses for everything for next year. We did take teacher input into consideration, whether or not we were going to build these as a shared resource folder or a master course. And it was unanimous we needed to be building these as master courses. I organized this in teacher facing, student facing, and issues that we will be considering for the future. So let's start with teacher facing. What I mean by that is, what do you need to know when you begin building? If you are one of the core courses that will be offered in BVL for semester 2, you already know who you are. You may begin building now. So if you want to spend PLC time Monday and Tuesday, or even this afternoon, you can begin that build now. I just want you to be clear that we do not expect you to have the entire course built before January 15th, before the beginning of semester 2. It would be ideal if you could get the first month or two of BVL nailed down and get that foundation built, but that you would make a concerted effort to stay 2 weeks out in front of the students in class moving forward. It really doesn't matter whether it's a BVL course or a face-to-face course. The expectation for all Schoology courses building wide is that we are all planned out in front a minimum of 2 weeks in front of our students. When I say planned out in front, what I mean by that is you have considered what lessons may look like, whether we're face-to-face or virtual. If we're facing another shutdown in our future, are you prepared for that? We want to avoid lesson planning being done on the fly. And these lessons that are out in front can be stored in a master course and brought over in real time as needed, or you can be posting them in your real time Schoology course and just having them unpublished until you need them. Whatever system works for you. In these master courses, you can also build assignments now with your PLC, and you can be attaching the videos later. So we don't need to record every single lesson right now if we're not in the moment and ready for it. Those attachments can be added and enhancements can be added at a later date. We will be building these as master courses, again, not as a shared resource folder. And the expectation is that if one of these core courses is in your PLC, that you guys are going to work together and that is a shared responsibility. I am not making you the template, however. Some departments have already begun building, and so that would be silly for me to be duplicating. So what I'm asking in exchange for that is that you, as a PLC, build your master course and then add me as an administrator so that I can support you with the technology along the way and answer any questions that may arise. I do recommend that you have a common naming structure. So if you're a core course, maybe we should all agree that it should be OHS, BVL, Algebra 1. OHS, BVL, health, and that we indicate that this is the master course. These are just two examples. It is an expectation that your PLC team work collaboratively on this and that not one person is responsible for building an entire course unless it just can't be avoided. If I'm the only person in the building that teaches econ, then I'm sorry, it goes to say that you are probably going to have to build that course. If you have a PLC and you all teach the same thing, please help one another out. All of the team members then will do their part to make sure that that master course stays up to date. And then the BVL teacher assigned to that section will pull those resources into the section that PowerSchool builds for them semester 2. As you build assignments in that master course that are Google documents, I need you to know that the Google Drive assignment app does not work well when we're sharing course resources with one another. So if you are helping build a master course that 3 people are going to be sharing the responsibility for and supporting, then if you are using Google Docs as part of the assignment, we need to do things a little bit differently. What I mean by that is when you build the assignment for the teacher, you are going to use the make a copy link of that Google Doc with the assignment. What that does is it's going to make sure that all 3 of the teachers who may be teaching BVL sections would be able to make their own copy of that document and they won't have any permission issues. And then they can have the autonomy to decide when they share a link with students that only need view-only access, or if they want to connect it using the Google Drive assignment app and enable that grade passback, they have the ability to do so. Every assignment that you guys are building, though, you also need to consider that the teacher that is supporting BVL is going to need access to either a checking key or a common scoring rubric, and that you guys have collaborated around what quality looks like. Also make sure that that original document is in your PLC folder. Those can be found here. If you click on the name of your PLC group, it will take you right to that PLC folder. Just general good practice, I recommend that all of your documents be owned by OHS Department Resources at ottumwaschools.com. If I am the owner of the document and I ever leave the district, then you're going to lose access to all of my documents, whether I've shared them with you or not. So let's be proactive and make sure that really important Google Docs that go with your curriculum, you share them to this email address and you make them the owner. For right now, if you're recording lessons in advance, we want you to use Screencastify as the tool to do that. Webcams are on back order. And so for whatever lessons you have the foresight and the planning for, and you want to be able to build those in quiet moments and pare them down, use Screencastify for that tool, and we can attach those to the assignments. We can always add on the fly recordings of quality instruction or really interactive lessons or experiments that you want to model. We can always add those later if we have access to webcams, but any of the stuff that you can plan out in front now, please use Screencastify as your tool. When you're building assessments, I want you to keep the Lockdown browser in mind. We will be utilizing the Lockdown browser with BVL students. And so as a team, let's support one another and become good at using it. If you are building assessments as a team, make sure that every member of your team has teacher directions for that assessment and that they all have a checking key or a scoring guide and that they're all scoring in a similar way. Down the road, we will be revisiting our course syllabi and pacing guides or unit cover sheets that currently exist for our face-to-face courses. And we're going to be considering if those need to be revised for our BVL courses. So this is not something you have to tackle today, but I do want it to be on your radar. So if there are obvious changes that are going to need to be made, you can annotate that document or make some mental notes of what changes you recommend. As you build your lessons, be sure that you are always working together to attach content and language targets to all of your lessons. That's an expectation every day with face-to-face. It will also be an expectation with BVL. So as you're planning as a collaborative team, make sure those targets are clear and that they are with every assignment. Also, I want for you all to ensure that we're not breaking copyright in any of these virtual learning environments with the documents that you're linking to your lessons. Make sure that you have previewed websites and videos to make sure that we have alignment with our standards and that they're appropriate for school. If you're using a video or another source in your Schoology course, we've got to be citing these sources and modeling good online citizenship. If you're not citing your websites in your face-to-face class, make this a priority in your BVL build, and then we can work that into everyday practice. But in a virtual learning environment, there will be more eyes on us, and we can all do a better job at this. I want you also, when you're designing your course, to be cognizant that we need to be giving quality, regular feedback to our students on their progress. And so as a team, I want you to decide about how often formatives are going to go out and how you're going to get that formative feedback to these students. Also, as you're designing assignments or units as a team, I want you thinking about engagement and rigor. So rather than just digitizing worksheets and uploading videos, how can you encourage better communication? How can you increase the rigor in that online environment? We are doing this because Edmentum was not a good experience for students. Let's be better. Let's do better. That leads right into my next point. I want to make it a goal for weekly opportunities to build relationships with those students and encourage interactions between you and the virtual students or student-to-student interactions. Things like Zoom check-ins, online interactive discussion threads, introduction videos, collaboration opportunities. Your ideas are welcome. Please share out what you think might be effective ways to build relationships with these kids. If you want to utilize breakout rooms inside of these online courses, please know that you must use Zoom for that. The current license that we purchase for Google Meets does not offer breakout rooms. We're making all these decisions because we want a positive, easy to understand experience on the student side. Please remember that some of the students you're going to be getting in a BVL course may have never been in Schoology before. Our incoming freshmen that are currently in BVL have never seen Schoology. They used Google Classroom at the middle school, and since they haven't been face-to-face with us yet, they haven't been trained in Schoology. So we need to streamline this and make it as clear as possible when they enter your course where they need to go, where they need to click on any given day so that they can be successful in your class. I don't care if you organize your units by unit or by week as far as the folders go, but it should be really crystal clear which folder they need to click on. So as a steering committee, we decided that if all of the folders are, let's say, blue, then the current folder we want them working on may be black. Originally, we were thinking red, but we want to avoid colors that might be a problem for anyone that is experiencing color blindness. So we're just looking for absolute contrast here. If the old folders are grayed out and the current folder is black, that's great. But we want the students, when they enter your Schoology course, to know beyond a doubt where they need to click so that they can be successful in your class. Do not forget that students cannot print from a Chromebook. There's not a student at this high school that can print from their Chromebook, so we need to be aware of this, and we need to make every attempt to include the resources that they need online. If we have students who need print copies or accommodations, we need to, as a team, brainstorm the best solutions to these problems. So let's brainstorm, come up with some ideas, and give that feedback to your steering committee members. We will be designing a student orientation module, so the kids that don't know how to use Schoology will get a tour, but there are other things that they may need to learn how to use, such as how to use Kami, how to use tools that are embedded in Schoology, like a scientific calculator, how to use Lockdown Browser. We also want to teach them digital citizenship and online etiquette. If you have ideas of things we need to add to that course, please give that feedback to the steering committee so that we can make sure it's in that cartridge. As far as late work and retakes, for now, we are going to follow the current OHS handbook policies. I want you to consider how you can communicate to students what supports they will have access to in your BVL sections. What resources will they have to utilize often? If I'm thinking about the math department and you access Desmos all the time, then you may want to have a tutorial in there about how to access Desmos and how to use it. If you never use Desmos, then that's irrelevant. But let's consider what students also need to become adept at using in addition to Schoology. We also need to make sure that the font size, color, and type are readable for all of our students. So let's try and limit the fancy curly Q fonts when we're designing our courses. I also wouldn't make anything smaller than a font size of 11. Just to keep you informed, some future things the steering committee will be discussing are absolutely how we can support the students that are incoming, as well as the parents that are incoming. So we will need to have an orientation module for each of them. One of the things that we will include in that is digital citizenship, how to use Schoology, how to use the Lockdown Browser. But on the parent side, we also need to involve them and let them know that they can create a free Schoology account and how they can access the parent access code. If you have recommendations for what we need to include in those, let the steering committee know. If there are other questions, concerns, or big ticket items that we have missed in this video, then again, give that feedback to the steering committee and we will be meeting regularly. I appreciate your time. I hope that I've answered some of the basic questions you may be having about building courses for semester 2, and that you have my blessing to get started. Have a great first 2 days of virtual, and I hope that your Thanksgiving break is restful and that somehow you can connect with family, even if it's virtually. I appreciate your time. Go forth and be awesome.